Wrestling has more than one royal family.
About to blow, waiting for me to start the show. Out the curtain, lights go up from home. Whoa!
Hey, Richie, what's going on, buddy?
It's going well. How are you doing, sir?
Good. So, Richie here, new to the know-so. Why don't you give us a little background on what you got going on in your neck of the woods?
I host a podcast. It's called Wrestling Retold and Relived with Richie Mars, where I go back and I cover a miscellaneous different amount of topics. One week it could be a movie starring a wrestler. The other week it could be Vince Russo's one-day return in WWE in 2002, and some character pieces. Like there's going to be one with Keith Lee that I'm currently in the process of editing. And we have other ones like Seth Rollins, the career of Dolph Ziggler, and many more. And I also host a TikTok at Retold Richie Mars, where I give thoughts on the current product in a 1 minute or less kind of format.
Perfect. So it sounds like you're perfect to do a pay-per-view preview with. So
I hope so.
That's why you are here. But anyways, Richie is well-researched, entertaining, and to the point. So kind of perfect vibe here for the no-so. So I invited him on, and I was lucky enough to grab him. Richie, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Enough of your bullshit, buddy. We are here to preview Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus the Judgment Day for the WWE Unified Tag Team titles. I let you pick a match. Why did you pick this match, Richie?
So I picked this one in particular because it really does interest me in many different regards, because the Judgment Day has been a big part of Monday Night Raw since post WrestleMania onwards. And you see that throughout each and every week. I think there was like a meme going around, like they main evented like almost the same match with the Judgment Day about 14, 15 weeks out of like 20 or something like that.
Safe to say that's fair.
And now it's going to a point where the story could go one or two ways without making it feel so watered down. And with the Cody Rhodes Jey Uso match, even though we've seen Cody versus the Judgment Day a lot of time, this is really the beginning emergence of the Jey Uso to Raw storyline in the beginning, because it's almost like the sins of the past are coming to haunt Jey Uso in a different way. You know, you have this dominant faction that allowed him to kind of being like, hey, you could come and join us, Jey. And then Jey reneges on that. But even though he made the right decision in the fans' mind, there are still relationships like a Kevin Owens, like a Drew McIntyre, even a Sami Zayn that we're going to talk about later, I assume, that still might be on the fence of Jey Uso coming to Raw. And that's what's really interesting to me about this particular matchup.
Yes, and we have this trade pending that could kind of come about at any time here. So that's kind of an interesting piece. And I do like at Payback, Cody Rhodes was the one that introduced Jey Uso on the Grayson Waller effect to Monday Night Raw. So this kind of feels like a ham-fisted thrown at you match, but it's really not. It's layers. There's a lot of directions it could go. And it's really a crossroad too for the Judgment Day. And perhaps, Damien Priest later in the show could, maybe pull a play, so to speak. So it's a very interesting match. Now, if this was on a bingo card to be a tag title match this year or a year ago, what? No. If you were to tell me the Usos would be in the top two matches or the top 2 out of the 3 top matches in separate tag team matches with separate partners, I would say, what? No. But we are here, and it's intriguing, actually. Let's take a quick dive down Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes lost at WrestleMania 39. Personally, I think it was the right choice. Since then, he is, night after WrestleMania, blood feud started with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam finally puts him over. A little Dominic Mysterio, a lot of Judgment Day in between that. And we kind of found a crossroads where he takes Jey Uso, throws him on Monday Night Raw because he is an EVP or whatever. Yada, yada, yada. That's how I got here with this. What's your overall thoughts and vibe on Cody Rhodes post WrestleMania? If this could be the midway point to next year's WrestleMania also. So what are you thinking of Cody? You think he's in the right landing spot? Is he as hot as he was? Could he get hotter? Overall, what's your feeling?
So when Cody first came back, and I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan, I liked him ever since he debuted in 2007. He just kind of had it to me ever since then. And watching him pre-WrestleMania, post the pec tear injury coming out of WrestleMania, his reactions have been getting louder since he's lost to Roman Reigns. So I think that was a smart move in hindsight to let Cody lose at WrestleMania to Roman, because if hypothetically he takes the title off of Roman, striking with the irons hot for the short term, maybe, but then you're going to get that John Cena effect saying, oh, he got this too soon. It's not his time yet. So now they're doing this building block right. And then the Brock feud happens. And of course, we don't really understand the reason why Brock attacked Cody.
Still don't know.
Which was a big sticking point with a lot of people. But in the end, with Brock raising Cody's hand, it was almost erased. Like, okay, we could kind of bypass that reason a little bit, because when have you seen Brock Lesnar give someone else their flowers after a victory over him?
Unscripted too, supposedly,
Supposedly,
Yes.
And then, Cody was in this weird limbo where it's like, they don't have anything for him. There's not a big enough, I guess, heel for him where it's like he can't get counter cheered or get mixed reactions. So that's why they kept putting him in the ring with Dominic Mysterio, because the crowd's going to boo Dominic regardless. And even though Cody's popular, it's going to wear thin eventually, where Cody is going to be the top guy, and it has to be. We haven't seen a guy like Cody where like it's virtually accepted by the entire crowd in a long, long time, where it's like he's like the number one baby face on Raw, essentially. And with him in the story, not only does that give him an out of just saying, hey, I brought Jey Uso to Raw, maybe I could possibly be the one to go into SmackDown. Or hypothetically, if Cody and Jey win the tag team titles at Fastlane, I think that opens up more opportunity for more stories to be told on the Raw side, not just involving Cody, but involving Jey, KO and Sammy, and the Judgment Day.
Also puts both those guys on SmackDown whenever needed to flirt with those Bloodline members that they are on a collision course for down the road too also. So building blocks here. Building blocks. His tag team partner, Jey Uso, same sentiment. The SummerSlam main event, in my opinion, a good match. But that bar is set so goddamn high with Roman Reigns and his matches that it just felt like a miss. But it's hard to say it was a miss. I thought it delivered for what it was. I think the finish was a little weird, and the explanation just feels, you know what I mean? Like the post of it all. Yeah, it kind of like Cody and Brock. Why? But that was a little weak on the why here. But it got us to where we got to go, and it is what it is. But Jey Uso, I kind of dig him on Monday Night Raw. I dig him trying to get his footing. I dig that Drew's against him. KO is against him. Sammy accepts him and misses him, and that's his boy. I love that dynamic of it all. Cody is like, yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on you, but this is why I did it, and you'll find out sooner than later. So there's a lot of moving parts. They're true to the guys that he wronged, and it's just true to himself, and that's the best way for Jey Uso to grow, is just to kind of get away from the bloodline, spread his wings, and just see where those wings take him. Overall, what is the upside of Jey Uso? One question, and then your thoughts. Will Jey Uso ever be a world heavyweight or WWE champion?
I think he's a very strong contender to be a world heavyweight champion in the future. Considering the fact, if you were to tell me a couple years ago, is Jey Uso main event material, I would have said no. But now that he's been getting these opportunities and knocking them out of the park when nobody has been suspecting him to be at that level, I think in the very near future, possibly even 2024, 2025, whatever, I think he can definitely be carrying the Raw brand on his shoulders if he decides, if the company decides to keep him on Raw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think he has the charisma. I think he has the personality, which is crazy to think, because if you see his story arc since the beginning of the whole Roman Reigns Universal Championship era, you could see this emotional roller coaster he's going on. I think there's like a meme going out there like, oh man, Jey needs a lot of therapy after all what he's been through. You know, he's been like the most hated person of the bloodline because he always hated Sammy. Then he was the last one to accept Sammy, to the fact where last year at Survivor Series, they hugged and like the crowd erupted.
I was there live. It lived up to the hype.
You know, and then you get this this awesome scene at the Rumble when Sammy like hit Roman with the back with the chair, and then Jay's like paralyzed in fear, you know, and it's just kind of like you're seeing this guy having to fight through his family. Now he's fighting other people on his show who theoretically should be on his side, but now that he's getting this opportunity, you have the potential of the Raw roster and storyline being like, why is he getting the opportunity? He's the one who cost us all these opportunities, like a Drew McIntyre, like a Kevin Owens. And now even for the tag team titles, I think there was an exclusive on WWE.com or their YouTube where Sami Zayn was like, oh, I have mixed emotions about Jey Uso going for the tag team titles. You know, so it's like kind of, it's kind of putting in that little wrench and little planted seed to see it's like not everyone is 100% happy that Jey Uso is at Raw, except pretty much Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. But why is he happy? You know, we'll get to that hopefully eventually. You know, I think real quick, yes or no, is Cody Rhodes the trade partner to Monday Night Raw? Or is Cody Rhodes the guy traded from Raw to SmackDown for the other piece of Jey Uso? Or my personal feeling that it may be Sami Zayn that kind of breaks Jay's heart a little bit. And Jay's just so goddamn good with emotion and confliction. I feel like that could be a trigger, and a way to reheat up Sammy is to kind of throw him on the other show, kind of like what they did with Jay here. And, you know, Jay and Sammy are so close, and then it's revealed that Sammy is the trade partner away from Raw due to the Jey Uso. So it's kind of like just more layers to them. What do you think? Who do you think is the guy that be traded? Is it the easy answer Cody, or is there layers and like a red herring somewhere?
The easy answer would be Cody, for the simple fact that it's what everyone expects. You know, people are expecting Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. Hypothetically, if Cody and Jay were to win the tag team titles, that allows them to go on both shows. So hypothetically, let's say they win the tag titles and they lose the tag titles, they could still announce Cody as the draft pick or the trade pick. I always thought the theory that would be pretty interesting is if Kevin Owens was the one to go to SmackDown.
Same sentiment as Sammy and the Jay. Jay takes his partner away by the trade, and then so the same sentiment to kind of wrench Sammy a little bit. So yeah, that's interesting too. So again, and Kevin Owens could reuse a time away from the bloodline, time away from Sammy, all this drama, and just kind of float his wings and spread out. So I dig all three of those answers, actually. All right, the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day, highs and lows, mostly highs, in my opinion. The lows are just being repetitive in the main event. But that's a 3-hour Monday Night Raw, and kind of those your only heels on Monday Night Raw besides Imperium. So they're touching a lot of guys. They're touching Cody. They're touching Sammy and KO. They're just kind of spread everywhere. So Dom's on NXT, Rhea's whatever. So yeah, they're the lead faction, so they're going to be in a lot of Monday Night Raws. But when you look at it and it's 15 out of 20, like you said, it's a little aggressive. But anyways, Judgment Day, I'm going to give you a question and then just give me your feelings on the Judgment Day. Judgment Day, will they be the World Tag Team Champions at the end of this night?
I'm going to make a bold prediction. I do not think so.
Okay. And I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you. All right. So we'll give our real predictions at the end. But overall, Judgment Day, what are your feelings?
I do like the Judgment Day as a group. And if you were to tell me a year ago that they would be as beloved, I guess, and just as a main focus of Monday Night Raw, I would have been kind of like dragging my heels towards it, because if you see the first iteration, they weren't really doing much of anything. Now they are having 3-dimensional personalities, and the addition of JD McDonough kind of as an associate has really kind of freshened them up a little bit. And now this tension with Damien Priest is also very interesting to me, mostly because we do have a last man standing match, which is not a easy match to get through. So there's a very high possibility I think there will be a cash in at the end of the night. But as concerning the tag team championship match at large, I think we're going to see another chapter in the Damien Priest, JD McDonough sort of interaction during that match.
Yes. I'm under the sentiment that Jay and Cody win this. They veer off over tag champs for a while, and then it is what it is. And then I think this is like sticking point between Finn and Priest. Something happens, yada, yada, yada. And then Priest goes into the main event, assuming that the last man standing is the main event. And then that's perhaps where Madonna screws up or earns his keeping. So we'll put it that way. That's kind of how I think Fastlane is gonna kind of pan out. And I agree. I expected the Judgment Day to lose myself. I didn't expect you to pick it also. I was hoping for a disagreement, because if I were to say, I would think the Judgment Day would be, the quote unquote favorite here.
Yeah, you would think so, especially because all the lines of the storylines, like Priest and Balor are getting along fine, before they were having some tension. But now that we're seeing other people kind of turn against Priest within the Judgment Day, Dom is against Priest for, in his eyes, costing him the NXT North American Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Rhea is against Priest because of that same situation with Dom. Even though they made up for it last night in NXT, mm-hmm. It's still like, you forgive, but you don't forget kind of deal. And now Rhea is listening to JD McDonough more, because he's saying a lot of things that are making sense within the realms of the Judgment Day. So I wouldn't put it past JD McDonough to be like a whole little like puppet mastermind because of Finn. So they would lose the tag team titles, leading Finn and JD to then partner up and then regain the tag team titles as a possibility.
For sure. I think that I do think, though, the Judgment Day had friction going in to Payback. They had friction coming out of SummerSlam. So that gap between those two, you figured that they were going to go against KO and Sammy, lose, and split off. So when the last time there was friction, they came together in a successful bout. So they could here, or they could have more tension, more distraction to the Judgment Day, and then try to make up for it in the main event, and then worlds collide or worlds come stronger. And so just to kind of skate around what I'm saying there. All right, so those are all the 4 parts of this match. Let's talk the tag titles real quick. Real quick, give me your feelings on the tag titles. But my question to you first is, should these tag titles be split? Or should there be a Raw tag team and a SmackDown tag team title?
I grew up with separate tag titles on separate brands, but in order to have a flourishing tag team division overall, you kind of need to have a flourishing tag teams in that division, believable, credible tag teams. And right now, just from the TV alone, we haven't been seeing many tag teams on television in competition for those tag titles. Like, you have Alpha Academy and the Imperium facing off, but that's really centered around the Intercontinental Championship storyline. You have the Viking Raiders and New Day facing off, but again, the end goal isn't, it's like, hey, let's try to be the next contenders for the tag team championship, So I think, just for the fact of simplicity, I would like the tag titles to stay unified.
I'm back and forth on it, because I like how it gives Cody and Jay a potential reason to go to SmackDown. I like how Judgment Day can show up on SmackDown. I like how KO and Sammy could show up on SmackDown beforehand. I like how the Usos could come to Raw, and so on and so forth. So I like that flexibility, because I do like a brand split. I like a really hard 90% brand split. I don't mind a few guys moving back and forth. And if titles are the catalyst to that, I appreciate it. But overall, KO and Sammy, my final kind of little piece here. You alluded to a Sami Zayn confliction on a .com where he's like, I don't really know how I feel about my boy Jey Uso going for the tag team titles that I beat him for. And I feel, those tag titles are still, to my heart. So how are KO and Sammy feeling here? Might perhaps they show up if the Judgment Day numbers kind of overwhelm Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes to perhaps run off JD and Dom, or could they be a crossroad of confliction here by mistake or happenstance? What's your feelings with Sammy and KO?
They're definitely what I consider the wild cards of this matchup, considering that nobody showed up for KO and Sammy's tag team title match, street fight. So why would they show up here? You know what I mean? Would they do it for the goodness of their heart, or would they do it simply to screw over Judgment Day, or maybe subtly screw over Jey Uso if you're Kevin Owens.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So they're definitely the wild cards to watch out for this match, interference wise.
I
And
assume them to be around this somehow.
Yeah.
Some way.
And even Kevin Owens said he was kind of like, he's like, look, I don't care who the champions are. If Cody and Jey are the champs, we're still next in line pretty much. You know what I mean? So again, a lot of moving parts that you could add into this match.
And those moving parts can go a lot of directions here. So that's good storytelling, buddy.
Yeah.
Just like your podcast is good storytelling. One more plug before we get out of here with it.
Yeah, that's Wrestling Retold and Relived with Richie Mars. You could check it out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And you could follow me on the TikTok and the Instagram and the Twitter at Retold Richie Mars.
I will drop a link to your pod in the comments. Richie.
Thank you.
As always, thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you on another one, pal.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Catch you later.
Thank you.